Hello and welcome to another dreaded fluorescent light video. I'm your host Trent, and today we will be looking at this nice desk lamp which I got over in the States at a yard sale for $5. So this is, I don't know what this is in terms of the brand name of it because it has no brand name. But this is a fluorescent desk lamp made in the 1960s, and it takes two F15T8 lamps. The F15T8 is a very old fluorescent lamp size. Actually, it's one of the very first. When fluorescent lamps were brought to market in 1938, there were four sizes: the F15T8, the F15T12, the F20T12, and the F30T8. So, here's what it looks like. As you can see, gooseneck, you can move the head all around any which way you like. It'll even bend over backwards for you if you don't knock it down first. And yeah. So, like I said, 1960s, these lamps made from the 1940s until, well, right up to the 80s and 90s actually, are so incredibly common. If you go to almost any yard sale, you will probably find one of these. They were incredibly common. The reason they're incredibly common is because when they were sold, they were incredibly cheap. Actually, the ones beginning in the 1960s were incredibly cheap. This lamp was made in Japan, and that's the reason it was so cheap. Now, today we associate Japan with very high quality electronics and consumer devices. I own several electronic devices from the 1970s and 1980s that were made in Japan, and they have some of the highest quality craftsmanship I've ever seen in a consumer device. But believe it or not, once upon a time, Japan was not known for that. As funny as it sounds, Japan used to be the old China. That is to say, back when this lamp was made, Japan was not known for making very high quality electronic and electrical products. In fact, they were known for making rather cheap and nasty products. And that's kind of odd when you think about it, but it's true. Back in the 1960s, you could go to your local Walmart or whatever store, pick one of these up for $5. And these were incredibly cheap lamps, and that's why so many of them are still around today, is because so many were bought back in the day because they were so darn cheap. So yeah, made in Japan. If we look at the bottom, it says, you might not be able to read that, but it says Patent Japan. You can see that, I do know. And that's probably the reason this lamp has no brand name on it. These lamps were sold under several brand names. I thought they must have been made by those separate companies, but I did some research and I've seen lamps that look almost exactly like this one. Some who parts of them do look exactly like this one, but they are sold under like 5 different brand names. You will find these lamps under brand names such as Mobilite and Hamilton. There's another one that starts with H, Hamex, Hamex, I think that's it. And yeah, so they were sold under several brand names, but they look exactly the same. So maybe these were made all by one company, but sold under several brand names, much like stuff in China. And this one has no brand name at all, of course. Anyway, in terms of build quality, this seems just fine. It doesn't seem very bad at all. Very nice. The only really flimsy thing about it is that the head itself is flimsy. If you put your hand on one side and your other hand on the other and twist, it'll twist enough that both lamps pop right out. Speaking of the lamps, they are worth mentioning. These lamps came with either Japanese or Taiwanese no-name fluorescent lamps, almost always daylight in color, but this one does not have the original lamps. I'll take one out to show you. Both the lamps are exactly the same. This one has rather notable lamps that are vintage. This lamp has two General Electric F15T8 CW cool white bulbs made in the USA, And one of the wonderful people on Lighting Gallery dated both of these lamps to be made in January of 1974. So these are pretty old lamps, about 10 years newer than this lamp itself, but very nice nonetheless. And these lamps are both in good shape. They have hardly any blackening on them, very little wear, and so yeah, that's pretty great. And this looks like it'll topple over, but I guess it won't. So let me put that back in, and we will turn it on. Another thing I haven't mentioned yet is that this lamp, like most of these lamps ever made, this lamp is manual preheat. Think of the Burgess Safari light. This lamp is exactly the same way. You hold down the orange button, it preheats the lamps. You let go of it, the lamps strike. You press the white button to turn it off. Now, because these lamps are manual preheat, the way they're set up electrically is kind of interesting. Technically, as long as it's plugged into the wall, these lamps are always turned on. This lamp, as you see it right now, is turned on. But of course the lamps aren't glowing because they haven't been preheated. So you press the orange button, it preheats and they strike. When you press the white button, it temporarily disconnects the ballast from power. If I hold it down right now it's quite officially turned off. But as soon as I let go of it, the ballast is reconnected to power. But the lamps, of course, do not glow. So that's kind of interesting. Ballast in this thing is very nice. Gets a bit warm, but it's very quiet, very nice. And I'll turn it on for you right now. So, you hold the button, and there you go. And we're running. These lamps are very nice. Probably most of the wear that's on them now has been by me. And yeah, it's very nice. Now, interesting thing about this, let me turn it off. There's actually two ballasts in this. Each lamp is controlled separately. And as a matter of fact, depending on how you push the preheat button, you can turn on individual lamps. If I push the preheat button on the left side of the button, the top lamp here will preheat. If I push the right side of the button, the bottom lamp will preheat. Now, it wasn't meant to work this way, but you can do it. So I'll start the top lamp here. Here you go. Now I'll turn it off. See, sometimes because of the way it works, you press the off button and the lamp actually re-strikes when you let go of it. Here we go. Now I'll start the bottom one. There you go. And I can start the top one. There. Just like that. And we'll bend the head down, and nice and bright, 30 watts. Concentrated into a pretty small area. And it's a very nice lamp. Well worth the $5 I paid for it. Now, this was my bedside lamp from when I bought it until yesterday, because yesterday I received another lamp that I got on eBay that suits my needs for a bedside lamp better, and I think it's much cooler. But we'll show that on our next episode of fluorescent light videos that nobody cares about. But until then, that's about all there is to show for this lamp. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.